Joining us now, host of the #1 show on Sunday night, Liberty Levin. I call him the Great One. You know, Mark, there really is evil in the world. At heart, you're a professor and a historian in many ways. You're one of my best friends. And I'm looking at history repeat itself. And if it plays out the way history has in the past, it's not a pretty ending.
No, but how about we have history repeat itself the way it did under Ronald Reagan, who crushed the Soviet Union economically and did, in fact, supply enormous amount of weapons all over the world to the enemies of the Soviet Union, whether it was in Angola in Africa, whether it was in the Middle East, whether it was in Afghanistan, wherever the Soviets were, Reagan would put up opposition to him. And it's a funny thing, it didn't create World War III. Now, I'm a little concerned about the Putin wing of the Republican Party, the Putin wing of the media, and the Putin wing of the Democrat Party. Biden is a disaster. He's weak. He's not doing the things that are needed for the Ukrainians to win. And this is what's bothering me. Why is it that the Ukrainians have to lose? Why is it that the Ukrainians have to have their cities destroyed? Why is it that we're all sitting and just waiting for the Russians to go in and take out Kiev and kill their president? Why is that? I've never seen anything like this in my life. They want MiG-29s. That's what their pilots are used to flying. We and our allies can give them MiG-29s. They want some F-16s that they've flown. It's our oldest jet, but our most ubiquitous. We should give them some F-16s to fly. We don't have to be in charge of any no-fly zone. We don't have to send American troops into Ukraine. And why do people think that this coward, Putin, who's hiding now in some bunker, is going to use nuclear weapons? I don't get that. If he was going to use nuclear weapons, he doesn't need us to provoke them. He can use nuclear weapons tomorrow. He can use whatever he wants tomorrow, but he hasn't, and he's not going to. And neither is that Lavrov, that long-in-the-tooth crackpot foreign secretary of his. So they're not going to use nuclear weapons, first and foremost, because they don't want to die. They want power. And then what? What if we do lose Ukraine? We, the free people of the world. What? He may go into Poland. He may go into other countries along there. What are we going to do then? Then he has a head of steam. Then he brings in NATO. So Ukraine is critical to the American people. Ukraine is critical, period. These people need more javelins. They need more drones. They need those fighter jets. And they may be able to stop Putin. Now, what if Putin stopped? What happens to him then? Then he doesn't get the empire he wants. Why is it assumed he'll lash out? Maybe the people there will lash out. Maybe Lindsey Graham, who I happen to agree with 100%, is correct. Some general, somebody will step out and tap him on the shoulder or tap him some other way and move Putin out of the way. I was on my own show Sunday night, Life, Liberty, and Levin, with Commander Richard Kemp of the British forces at one point in Afghanistan. He said, I don't understand this argument about Putin. Don't take out Putin. It'd be the first time in the history of war where we didn't try to take out the leader of a country like that. By the way, nicely to put Putin over my head. I hope he doesn't stab me in the top of my head. But anyway, so here's the thing. We have taken out leaders of the world in the past. We have taken out generals in the past. People have heard of Yamamoto. During the Revolutionary War, Washington gave the orders to so-called snipers at the time to try and take out their generals and so forth. Putin is hiding, but Putin has a hit out on the president of Ukraine. He's got his Wagner group, which is a bunch of thugs. He's got the Chechens. Their hit groups are out. There have been 3 attempts on Zelensky. So I think what Lindsey Graham has said, what you've said, what I've been saying on my radio show, isn't controversial at all. What's happened is the language and the debate has been controlled by the Putin wing of our society. This guy is an assassin. He's a mass murderer. He is a plotter. He's now doing things that endanger America. And China's thrilled. China wants a weak NATO. China wants, China has much more powerful military at this point than Russia does. They've got an economy that's multiple times the size of Russia. So when they hear people in our country shaking in their boots, what we need is prudence. We need to be smart. We need to be wise and so forth, not rush into a war situation. But on the other hand, I think the way that we are creating this situation is really quite lousy. Putin is not a 10-foot tall Amazon.
And then he's going to, then Joe Biden is begging, let's see, Venezuela, Iran, still buying oil from Russia, and OPEC. Mark, it doesn't get any more nuts than this. By the way, your show last night was phenomenal. Great job as always. The great one, Mark Levin, Sunday nights, 8 p.m., right here on Fox.